had it custom made.
I went to Walmart.
I had a vision of like,
I went to Walmart.
I actually wanted them like bigger.
I was looking for an alpine skier outfit, so
We on.
I was in the alpine skier section.
Did you run across any wings?
No,
You
I
didn't
see the wings.
Okay.
We on.
We on. We back. All right, everybody, we back. We on for a Halloween episode, Generation Us Halloween episode 2024.
Yeehaw.
I'm O, the futuristic baby boomer. Today, I'm an alpine skier right off the slopes. We have to my immediate right.
Lavala in the building. Progressive. Oh.
No,
right.
go ahead.
No. You got it.
No, we usually go with
You're right.
Damn it.
Bless you, my son.
Bless me. Lavala here, progressive millennial, a.k.a. the cowboy.
The cowboy.
With the pearls.
With the pearls. And the wings over his head.
Yes. I'm protected and blessed.
And we have our recurring guest. We have, to my immediate right.
Oh, you have the Right and Reverend James Warren Jones.
Okay.
And the only thing I can say is just drink the juice. It'll be all right.
All right. He's juicing. And then, last but never least,
my friends call me Kool-Aid.
We have our recurring guest back, Idrienne the Angel.
Yes.
Your wings are kind of flapping.
I don't know if you want to get close to the mic.
It's all right, my child. We'll all get our wings when we go to heaven if you master these nuts.
We're going to have more wings than we can handle up here today. But we on for Halloween. Everybody in the house dressed up.
Yes, sir.
Taking it seriously. So,
Some of us.
So, happy to be here. A few things to kind of chop it up against. Well, first of all, next week, we are 1 week away from the election. 1 week away. So we got to give a little bit of time, talk about our predictions, who we want, who we think, what we think will happen. I don't want to spend too much time today, but we need to give a little nod because, 2 days ago, Trump was in New York at Madison Square Garden, had a comedian talk about Puerto Ricans and Puerto Rico being an island of garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And the Puerto Rican community has been enraged since then. And they have en masse come out to say, oh, we got your garbage, homie.
Yeah, that was wild. That was a comedian, Tony Hinchcliffe. I mean, he's famous for saying off the cuffs.
You know him.
Yeah, he's connected to your Andrew Schultz, your Joe Rogan, your who else? Yeah, those pocket. I mean, you can even connect them to Dave Chappelle. They're all like known as the top comedians. And what's his name? Tony Hinchcliffe has this show. What is it called? Kill Tony. That they just like riff. And I think their idea is like comedy's supposed to be fun and loose, and you're supposed to be daring. And it's an art form. So you can say anything, and you shouldn't regard it with any like seriousness and weight to it. And I think like Trump campaign was like synonymous with like I feel like it was on par to the kind of joke and rhetoric that they do. They're like, this is where we kind of let it go.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
Maybe he should change his show's name to Kill Trump's Campaign.
Yeah. But did he kill Trump's campaign, or did he kind of like rev it up? Because it's like,
yeah,
that's, you know what I mean? That's what they're known for.
Do.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
sure
no,
he did.
So hold on.
Rev it
Let
up.
me ask this question. Did he rev it up? I think he revved it up amongst his base followers.
Sure.
I don't think he scored any points with the Hispanic community. And he kind of needs them to win.
Right now, things probably are the way that they are. There are probably not too many people at this point in time that are undecided. So the people that are going to vote for him are already going to vote for him, regardless of what they heard. And the people who are not are already not going to.
Unless
it's possible
you're Hispanic.
And those would be people, sure. So there may be a group of people that were Puerto Rican or considered themselves to be Hispanic that were voting for him and now aren't. It probably softens the blow a little bit, though, that it was a comedian. We just had this discussion about comedy and what is appropriate to say in comedy. And Lavala made a great point that Trump's campaign really has been like a circus this entire time. So it wasn't anything different. I mean, what a lot of people will see, I think what millennials will just see is just the clip. And for me, it was believable that it wasn't a comic, that it was just an ordinary speech made by someone from his campaign. So to me, it's not out of the ordinary. I think it's very normal. He said that other thing about like crap hole countries, and he didn't say crap.
He
So
also
we're
said
not
black
in a
people like
realm-
watermelon.
We're not in a realm where we haven't been before.
I do like
You
watermelon.
know, I don't think what he said was particularly riveting. I find it to be disrespectful and racist, but not
look-
out of the ordinary.
But look, look, I agree with Lavala. You should be able to joke about anything that's funny, but you also should be willing to suffer the consequences. Dave
That's true.
Chappelle's talking about trans people. He suffered the consequences, right? There's going to be a consequence for calling Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. There's consequences. It's cool. It wasn't funny. A lot of people didn't laugh. If you look at the audience in the background of that clip, not many people laughed.
Yeah, because not many people. Well, I don't know. How many people were there?
Yeah, but I think Tony Hinchcliffe and those guys that we talk
It was
about,
sold out.
like Bert
okay.
Kreischer, those guys, I think
That's
they're
what Trump
backed.
said.
They're backed by Joe Rogan, which is the biggest podcast platform. So they kind of feel untouchable. They don't think they can be canceled, and I think they feel like they're the sacrifice to the genre of comedy. They're like, while other people are sort of like pandering and they're becoming afraid because they won't be afraid of being canceled by people. They're going to be the ones, the last soldiers who kind of keep the art from alive. So his base don't care. I'm familiar with Tony Hinchcliffe, so when I saw it, I was like, "Ooh, damn, dude, that was hard. You went too far there." But I never thought, "Oh, this guy's gonna cancel anything." Because I'm used to seeing clips of Tony Hinchcliffe saying some wild shit.
To your point, look, I do think as a society we've become a little thin-skinned when it comes to comedy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I can think back to, Red Fox and Richard Pryor and Bernie Mac. They used to go hard on any subject and
anybody.
People,
Oh my God.
anybody, and people, George Carlin.
Yeah.
People just they laughed and moved on. So we have become a bit thin-skinned.
Yeah.
However, that being the case, it was a poor judgment move on the campaign of Trump to have him be the comedian.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have to have him.
Who else could he have gotten though?
He didn't need a comedian.
Nobody that's really funny is behind Trump.
I mean,
Maybe Joe Rogan. I'm sorry about
Joe Rogan is
That's your
not
boy.
really
even
that funny,
Joe
and
Rogan.
He's more of a
I watched
podcaster.
He's
part
not
of
funny to me.
I
but
watched
some
part of
people
this
think
funny
part.
he's
enough.
I watched part of the interview with Joe Rogan and Trump. And Joe Rogan was like, "Yo, man, you way out there with that weave, man. Come on back. Let's get you back on track."
Honestly, I didn't think Joe Rogan pressed him or asked some tough questions than I
No,
thought
of course
he
not.
would. But I expected more from Joe Rogan. But even over the years, I've seen Joe Rogan kind of made the switch. The interesting thing about Trump running this time versus the last time, it was that he was very polarizing to a lot of people, and I think people in the Democrat or any left media, talking heads, they never really supported him at all. But now I'm seeing something different. Like Dana White, the owner of UFC, he's bringing him up and announcing Trump and supporting Trump publicly. That's huge because there's a lot of teenagers, a lot of young men that watch the UFC and admire Dana White. Like Elon Musk having a shift and from famously being left, now all of a sudden supporting Trump.
Was Elon famously left?
Yeah, he was always Democratic.
Really?
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
These guys that are publicly coming out and voting for supporting Trump. He made an appearance in Andrew Schultz's podcast. That's a podcast I always watch. You know what I mean? Like Flagrant 2. These guys are pretty much left-leaning. But Trump is just sitting there.
But I
Leaning?
think there's a difference between saying left-leaning and being a Democrat or having some things that are part of
True.
the Democratic policy that you agree with. Like Joe Rogan is in one place, but Joe Rogan has done other podcasts where he has
Criticized,
questioned and criticized people that are conservative. I mean, he did that with Candace Owens when he had Candace Owens on the podcast. So I think there's a difference there. But this support from people that are considered to be celebrities. Like Dana White is a celebrity, but he's like a B, C-list celebrity. He's not Beyonce,
That's
but
right.
he definitely has done a lot in the world of USC. And that's why people know him. But when we look at Kamala, there are, I mean, you know, like Taylor Swift, she has come out in support of Kamala Harris. And there are other celebrities that have done that as well. I think we're just in a different world politically where presidential candidates realize now that they need to do different things to get support.
So here's my issue. My problem. I just can't understand how anyone can support Trump. And that comes from my experience of going through the 4 years when he was president. The things he says, the fact that he lies, everything that comes out of his mouth is a lie. You know what I mean? Like, who's signing up to support that?
I think people are separating the figurehead versus policies and what they think they're looking for, the changes they're looking for once the president is elected. I think everybody realized now that Trump is problematic, the way he speaks. But I think people now are so used to it, they're looking at, okay, what are the policies? And I think, you know, for someone to go, well, like for me to vote for Kamala instead of Trump, you gotta, I want to see that you're strong and you have policies that I really align with. And I think like, I think a lot of times I hear people just saying Trump is so polarizing that you should vote for Kamala. And
I can't think of one policy that Trump put forward during his last presidency or during his last campaign.
Tariffs.
Or during this campaign that has any meaning whatsoever. I can't think of one problem that Trump solved while he was in office. Not one. I can't think of one problem he solved. Now, of course, he said he was going to build the wall. Mexico was going to pay for it. Some people actually believe that shit happened. He said that we were going to win. We were going to get tired of winning. Some people actually believe that shit happened. He said that, everything was going to be fine. COVID was going to go away as soon as it got warm. Some people believe that happened. They're dead, but, they believed it at the time. I can't think of one thing that he said that's an actual policy that went while he was in office or a problem he solved while he was in office. Now,
Well, there are still...
I understand people have short memories, and he's a cult leader. So it doesn't matter what he said. He's like Jim Jones. Just drink the juice. Just drink the juice.
There are still things that he represents. There will always be people who vote for the Republican Party because of certain things that they believe in. There are key issues that Trump is never going to go back on. You're talking about particular policies that he was able to implement, and obviously we understand that we have the House and the Senate. And so we have other things that are working together. But like, I don't know, Roe v. Wade, the reason why we are where we are is because he had the ability at that time to elect someone because RBG passed away.
He appointed.
Appointed. That's really what I mean. So I think that's something that people that consider themselves Republican think about, and they consider that a win.
He didn't listen.
And the second thing, I may, is immigration. There are a lot of immigration is such a polarizing topic, but there are a lot of American citizens who feel like they haven't had the right bite at the apple. And because they haven't, why would we take resources from our country and give them to other people where we have people in our country that are living on the streets?
He had 4 years. Why didn't he fix immigration?
I understand. Of course, you couldn't possibly fix immigration just in 4 years.
What? He said he would.
I understand where you're coming from. But to say that people who are voting for the Republican Party are just, doing it because their minds are warped,
he's going to fix immigration.
True.
So, and he's going to fix it really quickly once he gets back in.
At least acknowledge that you have to understand. I mean, to say that are you saying that you don't understand the perspective that they're coming from?
No. I'm saying I don't understand why people think he's going to do what he says he's going to do when he's never done anything.
Right.
That's fair.
And so to that point, I understand from a Republican perspective, they want, smaller government. They want, less spending, balance the budget. They want less, programs to support. I understand what the Republican talking points are, but Trump hasn't done any of those things. He didn't do those things when he was in the office. All he did was create chaos for 4 years. And with Project 2025, he wants to deconstruct the entire democracy. So I just don't see how anybody who is a thinking individual can vote for that.
Yeah.
Not about his policies. And I've said it before.
That's not how the American people vote.
That's it.
That's not really how the American people vote. But I think we should cast a vote and see what do we think? What is the field?
So what are our predictions? Yeah. Okay, all right. I'll go first. I am predicting, and this is only from a perspective of hope and prayer, that Kamala will win. My prediction is she will win. I'm going to speak that into existence. Kamala is going to win.
Okay.
Speaking that into existence.
What do you think, Sherman?
So based on these black balls here, anyway, I think that she is going to sweep the swing states. It's going to be close in each of those swing states, but she's going to sweep the swing states, and therefore the Electoral College isn't even going to be close. Mm-hmm. Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, they're all his. North
Pennsylvania.
Carolina,
mm-hmm. Pennsylvania.
You think she's going to win Pennsylvania?
She's going to win them all.
Okay. You think Idrienne?
Angel. I think this is a hard one for me. I'm not really that great about being decisive about this kind of stuff because I remember when Trump was elected, and I remember having these conversations with people, and they were like, "There's no way he's gonna win. Like, you would have to be an idiot." It was the same discussion that we are having now, and then I woke up and I checked my phone, and I thought I was living in a nightmare. And so these discussions are hard for me because while I have so much hope in our democratic system and in the American population, I also know that we are thrown curveballs all the time. So I just don't know. I hope that she wins. I feel like she's going to win, but to say that she's going to win by a landslide,
not feeling that.
I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I don't see a landslide.
Yeah.
I pray she wins. I think she'll win. I don't see a landslide. Mm-hmm. But I see her winning. Mm-hmm. Because primarily she has run an incredible campaign.
Well, let me get my prediction. Damn. Well, everybody went and then went back. Yeah, I think it's fair for me to go.
Absolutely, no question.
Unfortunately, I gotta take it. But I think when I look back at the times when I felt like a candidate had a strong chance of winning, the strongest feeling I had towards a candidate winning and won was Obama. Like that was almost like, look, it's just a matter of time. It was just really exciting. Yeah. And when Trump ran, while a lot of people felt like he wasn't going to win because he was just this outlandish guy, there's an inkling that I had. I was just like, I just knew from an early start, I was like, this guy is going to win. And he won. And when Biden won, I also felt like Biden was going to win. I felt like the shift needed to happen. I think people were tired of Trump, and he did a lot of things that, woke society up, and people show up and drove to vote for Biden, despite the fact that they felt like Biden was going to be president or whatever, but they just vote for him because they didn't want Trump in there anymore. People were tired of Trump.
COVID.
Yeah. And now Trump is running again. And as much as I want to say Trump is not going to win, I feel like he's back and even more powerful than the first time he was running. and I don't really, and I represent. I'm pretty sure a lot of people too who lead with feel and emotions and kind of scope it, not really based on policy. I don't pretend to know all these policy. I know a little bit. I've learned a lot from you guys, but it's a feeling you get. There's a sense, awareness that you have in society, and I'm just not feeling like Kamala is hitting strong enough for me to really back her. And I also have been disappointed with. I've always voted Democratic, right? But I've been feeling like some of the things that we have been talking about and downing the Republican Party for, I'm seeing some of those things with the Democratic Party, the censorship things, you know what I mean? Like the extremism and things like that. And it's not really making me feel good. So I'm going to cast my vote. Well, I guess we're not going to say who we're going to vote for. No one said that, but I hope Kamala wins. But I don't think it's going to be a landslide. And I have a feeling like Trump might win. Yeah. Who you calling? Who you calling?
I'm calling Maurice James. She's predicted the last 3 elections. She's been a guest on the show. I want to know who she thinks is going to win.
I won't be able to get won't be able to hook her up. So
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's
So
you believe me, right?
You make me
She's not available.
concerned, because your feeling is that Trump may win, and again, I've been tracking this pretty closely. The attendance at Trump's rallies and his unhinged kind of shit he's doing. Yeah, it just, and then the energy around Kamala. Every time she does a rally, people are out in droves. And I see the polling, but what I also think the polling doesn't take into consideration are the young people that are energized. Because pollers will call you to find out who you're going to vote for. And young people, they ain't answering no more phone call. They're not doing that shit.
Yeah. Yo, we're 20 minutes into that. I ain't wanna. We can switch it up.
You might be right.
And
this
want to close
might,
on that. Yeah.
This might be our last podcast because you're talking about censorship.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of people on this show that disagrees with the former president, and he might put our ass in jail.
Well, not Lavala, because Lavala thought he might win.
You might have a show
Just
by
because
yourself.
I think Trump is going to win, what does that mean?
Well, to him, he'll
win?
invite you over for dinner.
Absolutely.
As he locks us up.
That's the problem. Like,
he won't lock up
me
the angel
thinking that Trump is going to win, despite that I don't even want him to win, is enough to even make you guys feel away. Okay, but let's move on. I mean, I get it.
This Halloween, what's scary?
Yeah, that's scary.
Trump is scary.
That is spooky.
Yeah.
Jim Jones is scary. That's who I am. I'm Jim Jones. Just drink the juice. Based on my word and nothing alone, I was a cult leader. Over 900 people died just because I said, just drink the juice. Now, that's some scary shit, isn't it?
Well, I think they also
Plus,
had
there's nothing
guns to
scarier
their
than a
heads,
Catholic
so-
That what?
I think they also had guns to their heads. They
Did it
had,
really?
machetes.
No,
I
those who didn't drink got shot.
got shot.
But they didn't know they was going to get shot.
He was like, "Oh, do you want some Kool-Aid? Like, just cause."
No, thank you. Bam!
That's why they call me Kool-Aid.
All right. So, what are you most afraid of here on Halloween? Halloween is coming up. What are you most afraid of?
Cult leaders.
Okay.
And we got one running for president.
All right. There you go. Angel?
Can I go last?
Sure.
Okay, I have to think about it.
Lavala?
You go for it. You set the stage. I can't think.
I'm most afraid of Trump winning.
Okay, I
Sure.
thought we had
Sure. What about you?
Cult leaders. And we've got one running for president.
All right.
Idrienne?
Are you being serious? Okay. What am I afraid of? I always like to say I'm not afraid of anything. So.
So you're afraid of being afraid. Lavala?
Yeah.
Nothing spooky this year. I can't think of anything I'm afraid of for this Halloween. So, yeah,
I'm
Scary movies, though. I'm
afraid
scared
of
of
cowboys.
yeah.
How about that?
Well, you ought to be.
You ought to be.
Well, okay, so let's talk a little bit about something. You know, there was an article that came out last week talking about how teens are, developing unhealthy relationships with these AI chatbots that they're able to kind of create as companions. And it's interesting because the focus of this particular article that I read was a young man who was 14 years old who was in the Game of Thrones, created an AI chatbot that had the persona, the look of Daenerys, Daenerys
Princess
I
Targaryen.
thought it was like Targaryen or something.
Targaryen.
I
Oh,
never
yeah.
saw it.
He
Oh, you didn't see Game of Thrones?
He wasn't in the Game of Thrones. He
No.
was into the Game of Thrones.
He was into
Yeah.
Daenerys Targaryen.
Well, who wasn't?
I
Something needs to
understand.
look at the name.
Oh,
now.
because she was fine.
She would set your ass on fire, though.
She would. But he created that companion and then started, he was an athlete. Withdrew from playing sports, rushing home to interact with his, AI chatbot. And ultimately, unfortunately, he committed suicide. So now the question is, a lot of these teens are creating, you can create a AI companion that you can create with whatever characteristics that you want. And now you have a friend that you can confide in, talk to, get advice from. And this is becoming a thing, like rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
So if you all were parents, how would you feel about that?
If you're a parent,
I changed
you
my
were
mind.
parents.
I'm afraid of AI chatbots. Scared
Well,
as hell.
I grew up not having television. I didn't have internet. I learned Microsoft when I was like 14, and it was a struggle. It was really hard. So I would just have a problem with that in general. I don't think you need that growing up. And I think it's unfortunate, but I definitely understand why it's happening. In my church, one of my friends from my church, her very good friend has a toddler. And because she acts out so much, she doesn't have the patience for it. So she just gives her a phone or gives her her iPad or something. And now she's stuck to the screen.
She needs to give her a
So
spanking.
it's not like these children just wake up and they're like, oh, I want to create this thing tomorrow. They're probably already using technology in a way that's a bit unhealthy, at least to some extent, for them to get to that point. But I definitely understand it. When you're playing a basketball game online or like FIFA or whatever, you make these characters. And now imagine if these characters could interact with you. You would like that.
mm-hmm.
I think it's part of the natural evolution of what technology is going, but I also think it's extremely troubling because, if I can create a AI chatbot companion that I can craft and create to be my companion, I can talk to, confide in. See, I've now eliminated my parents. I've eliminated other social interaction. I don't see how that can be healthy at all.
Do you think that eventually, though, it's going to die down like all of these other gaming interactions that millennials have had over time? When I was in high school, we had like Farmville or something, and you could go online and harvest your crops and kind of just do a bunch of stuff that's not real and matters to no one. But eventually you just got bored of it because you're doing the same thing. So I'm wondering if you think that eventually these people will grow up and they're like, oh,
Age
I'm
out
not,
of it?
yeah, I'm not talking to anyone real. I desire a real connection in real life. I mean, some people won't,
How
of
can you
course.
tell the difference, right?
Well, you can't touch them. You can't take them on a date.
But
They're not real.
It's enough because the way I understand AI, and I don't understand it totally, but it continues to get more and more intelligent, right? And so how are you going to get bored if you created the image and it's kind of catering to your interests?
I guess I'm just wondering how that's different than anything else that you can create and get bored of. A home that you design that you want to change, or, you know, like something on your phone. We get new phones, we get new screensavers, these are things that we design.
Yeah, but I see a big difference because the things that you design are limited by the things that you design. Right? They're only going to do what you designed it to do, or what it was designed to do.
Right.
But that's why every time Apple comes out with a new iteration of iPhone with more features and more capabilities, people gravitate to that because it expands what they were able to do before. If you create an AI chatbot that's your companion that has the ability to learn and artificially evolve in terms of based upon what it sees you like, or it sees how it can manipulate you into certain things, it's going to continue to do that. It's not static. It's evolving. It's learning. That's a very different thing than something that's going to be like a house, a smart house that, you know, right now, the house I got now turns my lights on and off. But the next house I get is able to cut my temperature and do all different kind of things, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm just sorry. I know you're waiting to cut in. I just wanted to say one thing really quickly, that I'm just talking about the piece that you can't create online. I get what you're saying, but if you create someone and you start dating that online person, you'll never be able to take them to dinner. You'll never be able to go on a walk with them, to go to Italy and to experience life physically. And I think we've seen times throughout society where people have gone away and they've, you know, been in this world that's made by artificial intelligence or whatever, and eventually they can't stand it anymore. And sometimes it ends in suicide, but sometimes it ends in going back to the real world because there's just something there that they can't have.
Yeah. I think that this is really a different frontier. I don't think it's as simple as a Sims game or anything that the kid used to have and play with and he can just kind of get done with. Because those things were static and they were programmed with limitations. But what we're facing is, so like the internet, since we've known the internet, has been kind of broken down, or like is evolving into 3 phases now. The first was Web 1.0, which was largely just text models and links. Web 2.0 came introduction with videos, more interactive. 3.0 is AI. It's a whole different frontier, and it's just beginning. I think when we see what's happening with kids creating chatbots, these are large language models that have huge data that can interact with you and mimic your personality, give you what you want, cater to you, and feel like a real human being. I remember when I was younger, sometimes in middle school and high school, a lot of my interaction with girls was online. My parents or like it, my sister had to, she didn't live with me. What was it, like high school? When I left middle school and went to high school, like in the 10th grade, my sister finally came and took me to go see my girlfriend from middle school. And she only lived in Landover. That was like 17 minutes away, but she might as well be in California because I never got to see her. And most of our interaction lived online through AOL, Messenger, and things like that. So, and it felt real.
Yeah.
And if you have an AI model that can mimic a woman in every way, you ain't got to see her.
Did it feel as real when your sister took you to her?
It felt more real.
That shit felt more real.
It did.
And guess what? I think that might be the problem. You know, the problem is it's all so very real, but it isn't, right? What we discoveed, you know, in during the pandemic, you know, we could have these Zoom calls and all these Zoom meetings, but what we discovered is we can have this meeting, but when we meet in person, it's a different experience.
Sure it is, but it's still real too. Like I can be so inspired and motivated by seeing an Olympian on the screen that I've never met before. The gunfire off, he get off the block and runs and win in the chair, like everybody's chair. I can feel the visceral. I can feel myself sweating, and all of the experiences and like all of my senses and triggers, all those things pop off, right? Like What's to say it's not real versus a physical touch?
What I'm saying is that whatever that intangible is between doing something online and doing it in person is what we naturally desire. And if it gets so good, online, then maybe your body can't handle it because somewhere inside it's not real, and you never will be able to touch that person.
Well, you will be.
Or push
That's
that.
a start.
Or
But
raise that person's wings back.
Here's the other thing. Here's the other thing. Because if I've created a chatbot that's an AI chatbot, and it's going to evolve with me, it's going to say the things I want to say. They say that Daenerys Targaryen with this 14-year-old, a lot of their interaction was highly sexually charged, and had a lot of, he was having a relationship moving into that at 14 years old, right? But everything that he was constantly getting validation, encouragement from this AI chatbot that he created that was there to make him happy. But that ain't the real world, right?
No.
You meet somebody in real life, you may have an interest, but you don't know if you're going to connect with them. They may not like your personality. You may not like their that's what life is really like. Like, you don't necessarily connect with everybody. So if you spend significant time with something you created that gives you all these cues that make you think like, I'm always right, I'm always, everything's great. What happens when you get in the real world, you deal with real people, and it's not like that? Now you're ready to like, oh shit, this is,
this is part of human evolution. I think what we used to think is the real world may not be the real world 20, 40 years from now. Things are changing, and all of these are becoming part of our human experience. If you go back to tribal days or some shit, I think a lot of things that they did and that we do now, I don't know if they would really be able to fathom. They would probably think that wasn't the real world either, right? I feel like we're gonna have things layer on top of our world that we interact with that will be considered part of the real world experience. I mean, we're having VR and AR now that's coming up. We're gonna have also and people are going to be building robots. People are going to be building, you have these sex toys that are human-like. You add AI chip in their brain. Now we can talk. You can feel it. You can have sex with it. I mean, who's to say those things are not going to be real for everyone?
Those things are dangerous. It's not that it can't feel real to you, but those things are dangerous. They're dangerous to our society. We can't have everyone sitting at home, refusing to go outside, interact with other people, be innovative, reproduce, because they want to be talking to something that is not real. We have seen the effects of people who are online and talking to someone that they believe is in Europe, and then they find out that that person is
catfish like a motherfucker.
Yeah, they get catfished. It's their cousin from down the street. That is detrimental to our society.
I didn't see that one.
Is it any more dangerous than humans? Is it any more dangerous than humans killing each other? People committing murders and
I don't think we need
and
to
starvation and hunger and the rich. Is it any more?
I think there is an emotional and psychological component that we don't know what that experience does yet.
Right.
People are committing suicide.
We
right?
don't understand why this
people
is happening.
are less.
I agree.
People are less able to cope with pressure and stressors. I mean, we talked about it on the last podcast where we've got a generation that needs a therapist down the hall because work might be too stressful. That may be psychologically and emotionally related to the time that they spend online and the way they interact with something that's not real versus the way they have to interact with those who are. So we don't know. You could be right. Those who adapt to that layered existence that you're talking about, maybe the ones that don't kill themselves will go crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we're going through a transition. I think there will be negative effect to these technologies coming out. There will be people who use it in a way that is not productive, right? The same chatbot that you speak of, a flip side to that is something that helps me tremendously with my business, right? I can upload files and document into ChatGPT. I can curate it to be an agent for let's say, accounting for me. I can curate it to be an agent for writing social media posts and all these different things. And these chatbots can help me with all the multiple hats that I have to wear in my business and help me expedite my workflow, like, by far, right? But
that's not unhealthy.
Right? But a teenager can still use that same technology and use it for bad.
Nobody is disputing that technology can be effective, that it can be helpful. I don't think anyone at the table is saying that. I think Sherman brought a great point, which is that we have essentially a bunch of young children that are doing things in technology that nobody else understands because we don't do that. And it's affecting them in a way that's incredibly detrimental to society because they're dying.
How many?
That is important.
How many? They're dying, really? Oh,
yes,
one person just died. As an example.
Some people are committing suicide in the same way that there are people who commit suicide when they get catfished. That to say, well, how many? It's only 2.
Well, there's a higher incidence of suicide that's happening amongst younger people anyway.
Of course. And I think it's going to continue to rise. And I think, in my opinion, that's because the way in which we have technology integrated within our society. Boomers say a lot of things about the way that millennials behave. But one thing that I do think that they get right is that our actions sometimes aren't really helpful to us. Part of the reason why boomers are the way that they are is because they didn't grow up with the type of technology that we have. We care a lot about Instagram and Twitter and what people think of us, to the point that you are able to be bullied online. If you tried to bully a boomer online, they'd probably just turn their phone on. I don't even think it's possible.
It's not.
It's important to look at the way in which technology is impacting the brains of adolescent children who are using it.
Of course.
I'm not saying it's not helpful, but obviously in this category, it's not helpful. You don't get along with everyone. To create a being that's going to be able to give you everything that you need all of the time isn't reality. How are you going to be able to get fired from a job, or to hear no from an interview, to not get the job that you want, if you're constantly going to go home and just be surrounded by people and things that agree with you?
All the time.
Positive reinforcement. You can make your own girlfriend.